So, funny story, I was actually intending to make an entirely different video today. An analysis on how All's Fair is one of the worst TV shows I have ever seen in my life. But then someone pissed me off on Threads. I was just scrolling, minding my own business, when a man posted saying that Sinners was being rightfully excluded from rankings of the top movies of 2025 because Sinners is a popcorn movie, like the Lilo and Stitch remake.
Ohana means
No.
family. Family
Two.
means nobody gets left behind or...
Or forgotten.
And I cannot stand for that level of disrespect. So we're making a thing of it because I can't keep shouting into the void. It won't call me back anymore. For today's drink, James is making me the Vampire's Kiss cocktail, which is literally just something I found on the internet because, vampire stuff. It is equal parts one shot raspberry vodka, Chambord, cranberry juice cocktail, and grenadine. You put all of those together in the shaker, you shake it up, and then you drop it in there. Finally, you top it off with a couple of shots of champagne. Now, personally, I would recommend just filling the cup. Don't even bother measuring them. Oh, and also this is supposed to have a maraschino cherry garnish, but we forgot that because we suck. That is really good. That is really good. I would absolutely take the kiss of death. So, here's the thing. A popcorn movie isn't really a genre of film. It's just a label that critics and audiences attach to mostly blockbusters a la the original Piranha or the original Halloween. Popcorn movie is often used interchangeably with blockbusters, but while many blockbusters are popcorn movies, not all popcorn movies are blockbusters. And even though there is no hard and fast, specifically defined rule of what makes a movie a popcorn movie, there is at least a certain consensus of the qualifications. Those being, it is not designed to elicit any deeper thought or cultural change. While being popular in their time, they disappear from cultural consensus rather quickly. Just because these films fall out of cultural consciousness quickly, that does not mean that they are bad movies. The fact that these movies are not designed to elicit any sort of deep analysis actually makes them more popular to the masses in a lot of ways.
Hey! O'Connell! It looks to me like I've got all the horses!
Hey, Benny! Looks to me like you're on the wrong side of the river!
Popcorn movies often use elements of cultural issues because they make good tension, and tension is the key to a good film, but the films never encourage deeper thought about those cultural issues. You don't walk away from these movies wondering how they're applicable to your everyday life. So, with that said, does Sinners qualify? In order to properly analyze whether or not Sinners qualifies as a popcorn movie, we have to talk about Sinners, so I'm just gonna summarize the film as quickly as I can. And this is my second drink of the night, so we'll see how well I do. Oh boy, I'm not ready for this one. Sinners starts off with twin brothers Smoke and Stax as they purchase a mill from a man who's totally not a Klan member. He's totally not, really.
Clan don't exist no more.
The brothers purchase the mill so that they can turn it into a juke joint, or rather a music club for the black community, a speakeasy if you will. The brothers elicit the help of their younger cousin Sammy, a blues musician whose preacher father does not want him to play because his father believes that the blues invites evil into this world.
You keep dancing with the devil. One day it's gonna follow you home.
But Sammy sees this juke joint as his opportunity to leave plantation life just like Smoke and Stack did.
Look, I'm leaving that plantation just like y'all did. And if that's a problem for you, kill me now.
So he tags along and helps them set up the joint with a couple of other fun characters, including Stack's white passing ex-girlfriend Mary, Smoke's estranged hoodoo practicing wife Annie, and several other fun characters like Delta Slim and Cornbread. Oh, Cornbread.
Now, we out here playing games, telling ghost stories, in place of doing what we ought to do.
And what is it we supposed to be doing?
Being kind to one another.
I will remember you.
The opening of the joint goes off without a hitch. People are vibing, having fun, getting laid. So much getting laid.
You go get him?
No,
Then why the hell not?
he was getting so lucky.
And Sammy gets to go on stage and perform his blues music, which reveals that he can conjure spirits of the present and the past and the future, harmonizing all ancestral lineage together through the art of music. That is the most simplistic explanation I can give, and I'm sorry if it sounds dumb. That's just because I'm a bimbo. It was actually good in the movie. Unfortunately, like Sammy's father warned in the beginning of the film, this invites evil to the joint in the form of Remick, an Irish vampire who has already killed 2 clan members and assimilated them into his vampiric hive mind. Wanting to use Sammy's gift in order to call upon his own ancestors, Remick and the gang approach the juke joint and demand to be let in.
Y'all playing?
Sir, well, no, we believe in equality and music.
Even though Annie and the others rightfully get bad vibes from Remick, Mary gets the thought into her head that because she herself is white passing, despite being a mixed black woman herself, she thinks that she can somehow be a bridge between the 2 worlds. She can somehow be a bridge for the 2 communities and decides to invite them in. Tragically, she is killed and also assimilated, so once she comes back into the juke joint, that's when the killing begins.
We ain't gonna kill every last one of you.
Sadly, much of the juke joint is killed and assimilated, including Stax and, unfortunately, our poor Cornbread.
I will remember you.
Oh, Cornbread. Despite the vampires trying to tempt them outside with probably the sickest rendition of the Rocky Road to Dublin that we will ever see,
1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Well, in the merry month of May, from me home I started, left the girls of two were nearly broken hearted. Salute to father dear, kiss me darling mother, drunk a pint of beer, my grief and tears to smother, then off to reap the corn.
the surviving humans, Annie, Smoke, Sammy, Delta Slim, Pearline, and Grace all managed to survive a little while longer. But unfortunately, after threatening to kill and assimilate Grace's daughter, Lisa, Grace allows them to come in.
Come on in, you motherfucker!
How you doing?
Which leads to the death of everyone except Smoke and Sammy. With Smoke seeming to have protection from all harm thanks to the hoodoo necklace given to him by Annie earlier in the film. Sammy manages to beat Remick using the blues guitar, and thanks to the sun rising, all of the other vampires are also killed off. Having survived the night, Smoke then tells Sammy to go home because, oh, surprise, surprise, that guy who totally wasn't clan is on his way with the clan to kill him. Smoke takes off the necklace of protection, accepting that this will be his last battle where he can be reunited with Annie and their unborn baby.
Pop was here.
Thank you. I didn't need to have happiness today. Sammy goes home to his father, who begs him once more to give up the guitar and therefore music because it invites evil. But instead of doing so, Sammy takes the guitar and runs away to maintain his connection to music and thus his culture and ancestors without having to assimilate into somebody else's society. This seems to be the right choice because the epilogue shows us that Sammy becomes a famous blues musician and club owner himself. And everything seems to be great until suddenly, Stax and Mary walk into the joint, revealing that Smoke had promised not to kill them so long as they stayed away from Sammy. Stack and Sammy reminisce, and then the film drops one of the most devastating lines in the entire movie.
No doubt about it. Last time I seen my brother, Lee. Last time I seen the sun.
Early in this morning.
Just for a few hours. It was free.
You know, it was just by pure accident that we used this cup. I forgot I even owned it, but we didn't have the right size cup for this drink. And then I realized I did. Thank you, Bevmo. Going back to that earlier definition of popcorn movies, let's analyze Sinners and see how it fits or doesn't fit the categories. One of the biggest aspects of popcorn movies is that emphasis on spectacle. Films like Pirates of the Caribbean focus largely on the spectacle, not only of the pirates themselves and fighting.
Who makes all these?
I do. And I practice with them 3 hours a day.
You need to find yourself a girl, mate.
But also the curse that comes from the treasure of the Isla de Muerta.
You best start believing in ghost stories, Miss Turner. You're in one.
Sinners, similarly, does use spectacle to get its story across with the fantastical elements of being able to summon the ancestors via music. And also just, vampires. So yeah, there is an emphasis on spectacle in Sinners. But when it comes to the context of cultural commentary, that's where Sinners falls out of line with the general consensus of popcorn movies.
He took out all his money to pay for the $2 train ticket. Train conductor saw him. Clan got a hold to him. Searched his pockets, found all that money. Made up a story about him killing some white man for it and raping that white man's wife. And then lynching right there in the railroad station.
Sinners is absolutely a cultural commentary of racism and a biting critique of forced assimilation. And it is not subtle about it.
This world already left you for dead. Won't let you build. Won't let you fellowship. We will do just that. Together. Forever.
This film is dripping with themes and begging its audience to engage in deeper thought, with more and more standing out every time you watch it. Some of these things include many Black filmmakers and critics have analyzed the character of Mary and her relation to whiteness.
Oh, that shit was your idea. I didn't want no white man. I didn't want to be white. I wanted to be with you.
Mary, being the granddaughter of a Black man, thanks to the one-drop rule of the Jim Crow South, she would still be considered a Black woman. Something that she is well aware of despite her life passing as a white woman.
My mama's daddy was half Black. He raised her to keep the Klan from killing her.
So when Remick comes a-knockin', promising he wants nothing more than to just celebrate music with the Black folks in the juke joint, Mary thinks that she could bridge the gap between this white man and her Black community members.
What about them crackers?
What about them?
I can go feel them out before they're too far gone.
I can feel them out myself.
They'll tell me more than they'll tell you.
Unfortunately, this assumption is made thinking that her white passing shields her from harm, but it doesn't.
I'm sad as all, but I don't need no saving.
Yes. Yes, you do. You all do.
Mary is the first person to be killed and turned into a vampire. Stax always knew that the risk of being with a white passing woman was death for him as a Black man in the Jim Crow South, something that Mary continuously downplayed.
You know I waited for you.
Shit, well, I don't know how in the hell you gonna do that.
Because you told me you loved me.
Well, I told you to stay the fuck away from me too, but I guess you didn't hear that part, huh?
I heard you.
And thanks to her hubris with that white passing privilege, in essence, her whiteness is the very thing that got Stax killed. Had Mary not gone out there, everyone else might have survived the night. Maybe. I don't know. Remick could have Rocky Road to Dublin them all out there. I mean, I would have gone out. It's a bop. Remick is not just any white man, he's an Irish white man, one old enough to have experienced oppression under the hands of the British colonization of Ireland. Because of this experience with oppression, he feels he understands the oppression faced by black people, and thus he is therefore entitled to be in community with them.
I want your stories, and I want your songs, and you won't have mine.
Something still experienced by the black community to this day. Even Remick's musical choices reflect this sense of entitlement due to shared oppression. Even Remick's first song, Pick Poor Robin Clean, is a song that was sung by rural black folk in the 1920s as part of the blues movement. The song is inherently about exploitation. They picked poor Robin clean. They took everything that they could from him. And could they take his body, they would. Look at that Jaybird laugh. At that time, Jaybird was famously associated with white supremacist movement in Texas, the Jaybird Democratic Association, and their political violence known as the Jaybird Woodpecker War. Remick is literally singing a song about black oppression written by black people when he himself is the one who is about to pick poor Robin clean. He is the Jaybird of the song. The Rocky Road to Dublin is about an Irishman traveling from Galloway, Northern Ireland, who, when he is then attacked near Dublin on his way to Liverpool, but saved by members of his own community back in Galloway. He's trying to tell them he understands the importance of community, presenting himself as the Irishman who protected the singer in the song. Even the song Will You Go, Lassie is a song based off of a Scottish poem written during the time of the Protestant invasion of Ireland, and it's sung like a song of mourning, because it kind of is. It's mourning a culture lost due to forced assimilation. It's no secret that during the time of chattel slavery in America, most people born into slavery were forced to convert out of their own religious cultural practices in favor of Christianity. Sinners makes multiple remarks about how that forced assimilation only harms a person by separating them from their ancestral practices. Annie, unlike others, practices hoodoo, a traditional African religious practice. She refuses to conform to the demands of white supremacy, which not only protects her from being fooled by the vampires, but also protects Smoke and Sammy until the end. Smoke can't be harmed until he intentionally takes the necklace off, welcoming death so that he can be with Annie and their baby again. Remick makes direct comment on this during the final showdown between him and Sammy when Sammy starts reciting the Lord's Prayer.
Amen. Long ago, the man who stole my father's land forced these words upon us. I hated those men, but the words still bring me comfort.
Remick was forced under the same religion that Sammy was forced under. And because it's not actually theirs, it won't protect them.
Those men lied to themselves and lied to us. They told stories of a God above and a devil below, and lies of a dominion of man over beast and earth.
This level of cultural commentary is one of the main reasons Sinners, unlike other popcorn movies, if you can even call it that, Sinners has stayed with the cultural consciousness ever since it came out. This movie had not one, not two, but 3 theatrical runs this year alone. People are still talking about it 8 months later. There's still TikTok trends about this movie. It has not left the cultural consciousness that something like Avatar did, where we all were obsessed with it for 3 months and then forgot about it until it won an Oscar. And then we forgot about it again. But there's still think pieces on Sinners being made right now. Literally, you're watching one. And thank God you are, because I'm not going to remember it after all this alcohol. Part of the reason we're all having this debate at all is because popcorn movies have become so popular in recent years that we associate any movie with massive success that's not an obvious Oscar bait. It's automatically labeled a popcorn movie. But let's compare Sinners to an extremely popular movie of its time that was also actually objectively a popcorn flick.
Today, we celebrate our Independence Day.
Independence Day was one of the most popular films of its year way back in 1996 BCE, and it is absolutely nothing but dumb and fun. And I absolutely love every single thing about it. Independence Day could have been a cultural commentary of sort. It is an adaptation of H.G. Wells' The War of the Worlds, which is a biting critique on British imperialism. The War of the Worlds asks England to think of how it would feel to be on the receiving end of global invasion by a superpower. You know, the same way that England has been doing to everyone. For always.
This is where the British stole all of our stuff!
Where do you think we get it from? Independence Day takes the same story but sets it in America, which could have been a commentary on American exceptionalism, where we as Americans can experience what it may be like to have been on the receiving end of our own invasions that we have done to other countries. Like the British did before us, like father, like son. Fucked up son. Listen, England and America are what happens when you have an abusive family that refuses to go to therapy and work on their abusive tactics, okay? It's generational violence. Independence Day could have been a commentary on that American exceptionalism ideal and why it's bad, except nope, the Americans are the ones who save the day because we're so much more amazing than everyone else.
Didn't I promise you fireworks?
Yeah.
God bless this drink. Yeah. Independence Day is not making any sort of social commentary on war or invasion, and it doesn't have to. It's a popcorn movie, and popcorn movies are designed to appeal to the masses. They're designed so that you can turn your brain off and just enjoy.
Welcome to Earth.
But the difference between Sinners and Independence Day is that while Independence Day was designed to please the masses, Sinners wasn't. But it still had mass appeal. There is a difference here, and it's tiny, but it has mostly to do with intention. Are they trying to appeal to as many demographics as possible, like Independence Day, or are they trying to appeal to a specific community, creating it, while the masses still find something to enjoy about it, even when they weren't the ones in mind? What keeps irritating me, though, about the labeling of Sinners as a popcorn movie is not that I think popcorn movies are bad. I don't. I love popcorn movies. I think Evil Dead 2 is one of, if not the greatest movie of all time.
Groovy.
But I also can't deny that popcorn movies are not respected with the level of cultural relevance the way that I personally respect them. Popcorn movies are seen as fun, but not really that important.
What are you going to do? What are you going to do? Wait here. I'll go get help. Right.
And when placing Sinners under that label, it just feels like this constant belittling of Sinners' success. Back when the film first premiered, Variety released an article noting that the movie had already made back its budget within its opening weekend. And yet, apparently, according to Variety, that did not necessarily mean it was a financial success. A film made back its budget in its first weekend, meaning the rest of the run is entirely profit. And that's somehow not a financial success. Hi, Editor Ricky here, just making a minor correction. Sinners did not make back its full budget by its first weekend, but what it did have was a $60 million opening on a $90 million budget. What that means is it only had $30 million left to go before it made a profit. This is why actors like Ben Stiller and Patrick Schwarzenegger wound up calling out Variety's reporting on Sinners, because the wording of the article made it seem like Sinners was somehow a flop at the box office, when again, it made back more than half its budget in the first weekend. And on top of that, if you look back on Variety's reporting all the way back to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, directed by Quentin Tarantino, which had the same budget as Sinners, $90 million. Sinners actually made more money than Once Upon a Time in Hollywood did on its opening weekend. And yet, here's the way Variety reported on that one. Yeah, I wonder if we can spot a difference here. And then this week, Rolling Stone magazine released its top 20 movies of the year, and while it did acknowledge in the article that Sinners was one of the most popular and financially successful movies of the year, it still was excluded from the ranking of top 20 movies. They included Weapons above this movie, a movie that couldn't tell what metaphors it was trying to use and tried to make Naruto running scary. If you can acknowledge that it was one of the most popular and financially successful films of the year, why can't you include it in your top 20? R.I.P. comment section. Listen, my fellow white peoples, I think we should all admit that we have quite a bit of unearned audacity. Part of the division about Sinners, even when it first came out, is that it made a lot of white people uncomfortable, to say the least. Even in my own nearly sold out viewing of the movie, the white couple sitting in front of me got so angry that they walked out halfway through.
Well, talk about bad taste.
There was a lot of criticism about this movie being somehow racist against white people, and just... No. Mr. Alcohol, you're my only friend. I wish that was a joke. When you're a white person, you're raised with this idea that while racism is bad, so long as you don't enslave people or demand that they be separate from you, but equal, if you don't believe those things, you as a white person can't be racist. That's what we're taught to believe.
The truth is, I don't hire black people.
But racism is far more complicated than just chattel slavery or segregation. Racism is something that we as white people are raised to ignore.
Maybe we're wrong. Actually, it's bald people she's discriminating against.
Because we don't have the barriers that black people have. We live in a world where being white is seen as the default race because we've never been legally seen as less than due to the color of our skin.
Chelsea, can I trust you?
Aye, boss.
The truth is, I don't hire black people.
That gives us not only a lot of privilege, but a lot of entitlement. We just expect things to be easily accessible to us because they always have been.
You see, everyone, whether we're born rich or poor, or white or miscellaneous, who we become is based on our own decisions.
Now, that's not to say that you yourself have never struggled. We all deal with classism that oppresses almost everyone in this country, except for the billionaire class, who will learn what oppression is like when we starve so much that we will start eating them. And if you do want a good representation of what it is like to be a white person struggling under classism in this society, take a look at The Florida Project, which explores a white woman and her child living in a motel due to housing insecurity. A film that hit way too close to home for me as a person who had a similar childhood. So, because we as white people have this sense of entitlement, we feel this inherent expectation that we should be included in every film we see coming out of mainstream Hollywood. And when it comes to films about racism from mainstream Hollywood, we expect that there will be white racists, but there will also be at least one, if not more, good white people, so we can feel like we would be that good white people in the situation. We want to believe that we would be Skeeter from The Help, but in the real world, most of us are not Skeeter. Most of us are Remick.
Well, no, we believe in equality and music. We just came here to play.
And also Skeeter because she wasn't that great either. But definitely the Remick part, especially the Remick part. No, I'm not saying that we are all evil vampires set out to kill people. I mean, Stephen Miller is, but most of us aren't. We have no bad intentions. In fact, when black people discuss their oppression, to a lot of us, we relate, again, due to issues like classism. And because we relate, we think that that relation is reciprocal, and that therefore we should all be allowed to share everything with each other. But black people, even victims of classism, don't relate to the experience of white people suffering from the same, because they'll still experience the same racism even if they manage to move on to a higher class. Remick is that side of us that thinks we are all just people. There's not multiple races, there's just one race, the human one. But while racism has very little scientific basis, if any at all, it does still definitely have a social basis. And historically speaking, assimilating into white neighborhoods and white spaces, it's often led to more harm to black communities, like the violence that came to children who simply had the audacity to go to school. Bringing it back to the Hollywood of it all, Hollywood has a very specific way that stories of racism are supposed to be told.
I had to learn to play these slave parts. And now you can too, at Hollywood's first black acting school. It teaches you everything.
Not only do they almost always have a good white person at the center of it, but a lot of the time, films just come off as an exploitation of black pain throughout history. Earlier this month, Lupita Nyong'o talked about her career since her film debut in the 2013 film 12 Years a Slave, for which she won an Oscar for Best Supporting Actress. But since then, she actually hasn't gotten a lot of work, averaging maybe one movie per year in the 12 years since winning that award. The reasoning for that?
But you know what's interesting is that after I won that Academy Award, you think, oh, I'm gonna get lead roles here and there. Oh, Lupita, we'd like to play another movie where you're a slave, but this time you're on a slave ship. Those are the kinds of offers I was getting in the months after winning my Academy Award.
She's an Academy Award-winning actress, and she struggles to book work that highlights her as anything other than an enslaved person, because that's what Hollywood expects out of black people. This has been a problem going all the way back to practically the beginning of Hollywood. If you aren't willing to be a black person and depict black pain, then you don't get to play the game. But that, of course, hasn't stopped black artists from continuing to make art. Black Hollywood has been a prominent film industry going all the way back to the beginning of filmmaking. And though Black Hollywood has been historically considered fairly niche, the lines between Black Hollywood and the mainstream film industry, thanks to filmmakers like Jordan Peele and Ryan Coogler, that line is becoming thinner and thinner. And Sinners has now proven that these films made by black filmmakers that explore the black experience without the lens of exploitation of black pain, they're successful. So no, Sinners is not a popcorn movie. It's worse than that. It's a cinematic masterpiece that shows white Hollywood that black filmmakers no longer need their approval before they can find a success amongst a mainstream audience. And with all of that said, I'm gonna go get shit-faced because I wrote the script entirely in one day and I'm emotionally exhausted. Cheers, everyone. Enjoy Sinners. Woo!